Steeler fans, do you believe it is on its way? What is on its way? The 2021 season, and there are plenty of Mondays and days after to be hungover about, and I cannot wait. Hopefully they are awesome hangovers. There's two different kind of hangovers. There's the one when you are face down in a puddle of muck because you're drowning your sorrows on things going wrong in your life. That Steeler game did not go anybody's way but the opponents. And yeah, you kind of feeling it, and you kind of need some self-help. You kind of need a group chat. You kind of need some therapy, or in Pittsburgh, we like to call it therapy. And if you have a chance to get that, you can, and that's what this show's all about. Then there's the other kind of hangover, when you're partying because things are going right and you're feeling so good, and the Steelers just went 16-0, going to 17-0, getting ready for the playoffs. You know, that's a pretty good feeling too, and that's a way to kind of, yeah, that's a reason to go ahead and tie one on and celebrate as well. Hey fans, my name is Brian Anthony Davis from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Alongside me is Shannon White and Tony Defio. We're three Steeler Stooges, and we're glad to talk to you every single week. And we are going to we're celebrating a good hangover, because not only did the Steelers pick up a great piece of the puzzle for 2021 by the name of Joe Schobert, they also won another preseason game. So they're 2-0. Lots of fun stuff to talk about as we get ready. The countdown is on. Tony, how long is it going to be until the Steelers play meaningful football?
Well, 26 days from today, right? 26 days from today, 4 weeks.
There you go. Shannon White, are you counting down?
Is my math off?
Oh, yeah. I've been looking forward for the September 12th.
Very good. Very good, gentlemen. Tony, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm great. Great. Another fine Monday. I'm looking forward to having a great show. Had a good day today, so I'm feeling content. How about you?
Really? So how was your day today, Tony? I mean, what makes a good day? I heard you and Shannon talking, and beforehand, sounds like it was eventful.
Well, typical. I did some writing, cleaning, and then I went running, and some woman pulled over and thought I was having a heart attack. Usual stuff.
Typical Monday.
Apparently, I don't look like I would ever run. So when somebody sees me breathing heavier, like, oh my God, that guy.
You need to start running too with like a sack with a big dollar sign on it too. So,
yeah.
Just so people think that. I mean, my gosh,
right,
I'm in a 1950s cartoon, I guess, but I mean that's where I live. But yeah, maybe you should try that, Tony. Well, were you having a heart attack?
I'm going to give it a shot.
Or is that just?
Well, I mean,
did you get her phone number? Is what I want to know.
No, she's too fast. I wasn't fast with her. She sped off.
See, that might be the way to do it. Look like you're dying and get phone numbers. That's how Shannon White met Mrs. Right. Shannon.
Exactly. You do that, and then you have make sure you have a puppy in your hand, and like you just saved puppy.
There you go. Yeah.
The empathy card.
I love it.
Sympathy card.
Shannon, do you think that'll work for Tony? Tony Defio?
It might, because puppies are powerful. Puppies are powerful. Yes.
They are.
And you are the young one on this show, believe it or not.
Yes.
So that should make you feel good. I mean, I'm Jan Brady in the middle, and Shannon's Marsha, Shannon. So yeah, I've always thought that about you, Shannon. And I say that with a staunch record of homosexuality. What was that, Tony?
So I get away with everything. with everything. I'm the youngest.
There you go. Shannon White, how are you, my friend?
Oh, doing great. Been looking forward to the show tonight.
Well, great. Is there? How was your day, my man? Did you have a good weekend? Did did you party down there in West Virginia?
Well, we went away for the weekend down to Bristol, and just walked around town and ate some good food and had a good time as a family. And but today I've been commenting on my article, and I always enjoy a good discussion. And Andrew Wilbar had a very good article today about Matthew Sexton, and he even talked to his high school coach. And,
nice.
So he had some inside information, and it was very well written. And I think a lot of people forget that he's a high school kid just now going to college, I think this week. So the future's bright for that young Padawan.
The young news hound that is Andrew Wilbar. I love it. That's great. He's probably so is Sexton from Michigan? Because I know he went to college in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I know young Andy Dubs, we'll call him. Andy Dubs is, I believe, a Michigan guy. I know he does not like the Ohio State University, and we've got to discuss with him that. What's that?
He don't like Ohio State.
Oh no! But we've got to discuss with him that you cannot have any allegiance to any Harbs on the BTSC network, even though it's a brother. So we're gonna have to work on him a little bit more. He's not out of the doghouse yet. He's not out of the bad doghouse yet. But
he said that Matthew Sexton played football like 15 minutes from his house. His high school football. So he's real close to it.
We've got Michael Beck, who played with Chase Claypool. We've got check out this guy. We've got Andrew Wilbar, who was near Matthew Sexton. I grew up in the same hometown, not at the same time, but I grew up in the same hometown as one. You might have heard of him, Jack Ham. Tony is from Crafton with a newly minted Hall of Famer there. I've heard of him. You might have William Laird Cower. Shit. Oh, there you go.
I just finished up. No, I got it from the library, so I have to take it back. I can't dirty, but I just finished it today. It's really a good book. A lot of insightful things from life as a coach and a family man. It's pretty good.
That's awesome. So Shannon, what do you bring to the table here?
I don't know.
Gentlemen, hey, it's great. Shannon, of course, brings plenty to the table. I'm glad you mentioned that about Andrew's article. Check that out. Check out all of the articles on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. A lot of people don't realize, and a lot of people on that side of the ball don't realize that we are not just a podcast network, or we are just not an editorial webpage. We are a little bit of everything. So that's something to definitely check out. So do that. But Andrew, fantastic stuff. I'm booking them now. I'm going to say right now, when it comes draft time, I mean, hands off. He's going to be my personal assistant, especially on draft weekend, and we're gonna be hearing a lot from him. So good job to our friend Andrew there, and always in the live chat. First one to say first, but you don't get the shout out like Let's Toast Media is gonna get, because Let's Toast Media was the first one in. So congratulations. We always celebrate the first one in. Lots of great stuff. And hey, remember, we have 82 people in the live chat right now. We can't do this show without y'all. Mm-hmm. And I've got to tell you something, guys. So something happened to me the other night, and it was pretty exciting for me, because my son said to me, he said, Dad, let's go out to eat. And my wife couldn't go, and my daughter was at a she was at a sleepover. So I said, all right, we'll go out. And we went to a pizza place, and we're there eating, and I'm talking to my son. And then all of a sudden I hear from across the restaurant, and it wasn't busy whatsoever, but I just heard Behind the Steel Curtain. And I looked up. Yeah. And I looked up and I saw this gentleman and his wife, and I went over and said hello. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I come over and say hello?" They're like, "Yes, please." So I went over to talk to him, and here he's been a long time listener and checking out our shows. And I remember I've seen his name before. His name's Claude. I've seen him in the live chat, and it was great. It was fantastic to just sit and talk Steelers with him. And we had a chance to talk. And I even, I said, "Hey, let's watch a game together sometimes." So it's really fun. And I got to tell you, it was an honor for me to meet somebody from the live chat, to meet fans, somebody that does what we do here, that gets what we do here. So it was so fun. Buck Dancer wants to know where we were eating. We were eating at Alito's Pizza, and I don't know if you guys ever. It's Alito's is a chain out here at like DC and Maryland. I think it was founded at the University of Maryland. It's actually really good stuff. So, but anyways, it was such a pleasure, and the gentleman said to me, "Hey, it's an honor to meet you. I'm a big fan of BTSC." I'm like, "No, it's more of an honor for us." But knowing that we have people that check us out each and every week, because we can't do it without all of you. And if it's just me, Tony, and Shannon talking, we might as well go out for wings. If no one's going to be listening to us, but you give us reasons to talk. So thank you. And we're no different. We're fans just like you. We just were fortunate to have this platform. So thank you so much. Let's get into it, fellas. I'm really excited, and we haven't had a chance to talk about this together. But Joe Schobert, who's excited about Joe Schobert here? Are we overexcited for this guy, or is it something that did we just get a steal? Shannon, I'll start with you.
Has to be. I mean, he's given us fits in the past because he's such a good coverage linebacker. Instinctual, he flows smooth to the ball, and he gets great drops, and he just easily drops into coverage, and he's got a feel for it. And that's the first two preseason games, it's been an issue. And of course, Bush is coming back from his injury, and last week was his first game action. So I think he'll be fine once he gets more confident in the knee. But with him and Schobert, the inside linebacker coverage should not be an issue any longer.
Tony, what was your first reaction when you found out that Megan Schobert was breaking the news? And hey, you cannot break a trade any better than the phrase "Yins are gonna love this." Tony, that right away, I fell in love with the Schobert family because that was awesome. Tony, what were your thoughts?
I was pleased with it. I thought it was a very sound, very Steeler-like move. It's something you've seen from them a lot the last 4 or 5 years. They have an issue. If they identify an issue with the team, with a position, and they go out and they try to correct it. Now, there's talk about the Jaguars approach them or they approach the Jaguars. Who really cares? They got the deal done, and they didn't give up much for him, and he's going to be a solid player for them. He really solidifies the inside linebacker group. Him alongside Devin Bush, and then you have it helps your depth with Spillane and probably Buddy Johnson now as your third and your fourth inside linebackers. So I like it, and he's a professional, he's a veteran, he's accomplished. Shannon said he's great in coverage, he can tackle, so he's versatile. So I mean, he's going to help solidify that unit like they haven't seen since probably the days of Shazier and Timmons when they were back there together. When they were both remember that 26 season when they were both doing their thing, and then you had Vince Williams coming in there and people were arguing about who should hit the bench. That's how good all three of those guys were. So I think Schobert and Bush are going to be a great tandem. Now it's just a matter of Bush getting back up to 100%. Once he gets back to 100%, and he reaches that potential that they saw in him 2 years ago when they trade up to get him in the first round, it's going to be a great duo, I think.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of Big Ten on that defense. That's starting defense now, because you've got Watt. That's one, of course. Hayward. Is Tuitt considered Big Ten? Is Notre Dame officially Big Ten now? I mean,
I think it's still independent, ain't it?
Okay, because I guess in everything else, they're Big Ten. But I didn't know whether they were eligible to play in the Big Ten championship game. Now that confuses me. So that's the only reason I bring that up. But of course, Bush, you've got the Michigan Wolverine there. You've got a Buckeye. You've got two Badgers, and of course, Antoine Brooks. He's a Big Ten guy because he's Maryland. You've got a Big Ten guy in the Penn Stater. Of course, now the defensive backs, the corners, no. Because you've got a Michigan State guy there, a Spartan in Shakur Brown and Justin Lane. So Joe Hayden's Florida, and Pierre is not Big Ten. I keep on forgetting where you've got to know this, Shannon White. Where's Pierre from?
Florida Atlantic.
That's right. Yeah, he is a Florida Atlantic, the Fighting Florida Men. I guess so. Yeah, I mean, you've heard that joke. I think it was on the show Atlanta, I guess, where they were talking about Florida Man robs convenience store. Florida Man does this. Florida Man is like they were afraid of Florida Man because he was always doing something. So that was great. So, anyways, no, a lot of Big Ten there. But, it's really good to see that this man, when I say this man, Kevin Colbert, he definitely has his finger on the pulse of everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. They don't put a lot of GMs in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they're contributors possibly, but how close to a Hall of Fame general manager is Kevin Colbert now? Shannon, I'll start with you.
I commented on Michael Beck's article today. He's never got the respect that I think he's earned. He's a lot like Big Ben. He's done a tremendous job, and people want to talk about, just a few of his misses. And of course, that's human's fallible, but people don't give him enough credit. I mean, he's built an incredible team. If you looked at that chart that came out recently about haven't had a losing season since 2003, and before Ben, of course, and but a lot of that has been Colbert as well, because he's just kept the talent pipeline flowing. And the last few years, he's went out of the Steelers' comfort zone and traded up in the draft multiple times, give up future draft capital, stuff that they don't like to do. But I was like, I can believe they drafted Loudermilk, with all the talent we had on the Steelers have on that line. And now I'm eating crow because, he looks like he's going to be the real deal. And of course, I knew they always knew more than me, but, still, you think, oh, what did they do that for? But I think that he definitely should be, when he's finally retires, he deserves Hall of Fame consideration.
Tony, are you worried about Kevin Colbert retiring with a man like Omar Khan waiting in the wings?
No, because I think the one great thing about the Steelers is that they just have such a good structured system, a good organization now, and they know how to win. The blueprint's there, and Tom Donahoe, who was also from Pittsburgh, he was a fantastic. They didn't call him a GM back then, but he was basically the GM, and then he had problems with Cowher, so they had to part ways. But and they went right to Kevin Colbert, and it was such a seamless transition, and he was able to work great with Cowher, and now Tomlin. He doesn't seem to have a huge ego. He doesn't seem to feel threatened by anybody. He just does his job, and he's such a reassuring guy for me to have in that system. Am I worried about it? I hate to see him go, but I think they have such a good structured organization. The next guy they bring up or woman or whoever they bring up and put in that position, it's going to be. I think I have confidence that they're going to be able to do the job.
I think the next GM of the Steelers could possibly be Megan Schobert, and I would, I mean, or at least hire her as maybe a in the media, because fantastic. I actually got to. She seems like an awesome wife too, as far as like making Schobert stuff for the baby stuff. I saw stuff that she's done and like different tweets. So that's a great addition to the team too. Just having a support like that. It's really nice to have a great family in there too. So I feel like they're getting an all-star type player, an all-star type guy, and an all-star type family as well. Let's talk about Robert Spillane though, fellas. And Tony, I'm going to start with you. Robert Spillane, I guess he's being demoted in a sense, but Robert Spillane has not lost. As far as I'm concerned, he hasn't lost anything as far as the need that he brings. He has a lot of worth to this team too. So coming in as that third guy in and the next man up, where do you see the value of Robert Spillane? Do you feel that he's lost value, or do you feel like that his value is best placed as a second stringer? Because I look at this, I was on another show yesterday with some friends on another YouTube show. It's definitely something you should check out. It's called the Know It Alls podcast. And I was making, it wasn't a joke. I was joking, but I wasn't joking. I actually would love to see a Pro Bowl spot going to either that or a Hall of Fame spot going to a backup quarterback, because there are guys in history that are great backup quarterbacks, and that's staying in their lane. Just like there's great offensive coordinators, not great head coaches, but great offensive coordinators. Do you think that Robert Spillane, Tony, is one of the great backups in this league as far as next man up and depth piece?
Well, all I know is for sure is he showed its value last year when Devin Bush went down and he came in. Obviously, he's not going to be Devin Bush. He's not even going to be Joe Schobert. But he came in and played 6 games. I think was it 6 games before he suffered his injury, and he did a great job. I mean, he did a great job filling in, and he made some plays, and he made some big plays. So I think he could be more valuable this year than people think, even as a backup. If he has to come in for Bush, if Bush is having trouble early in the year, trying to come back 100% from that injury. Remember, it's only been 10 months since he suffered that torn ACL. I mean, people, I think Jeff said it the other day, people assume that you can come back and look at, he split from that injury now because of modern science, or modern medicine, but it's still a tricky injury, and they might need him to play some valuable reps this year. So I don't think he's done yet as far as being a potential starter in the NFL, because, what if they have to move on from Schobert after this year? Maybe it's a salary cap thing and they have to move on from him. Well, if Spillane keeps his head in the game and keeps getting those reps and keeps trying to improve as a player, then he could get his turn next year again as a starter. We saw that with Vince Williams. He had to come in for Shazier, and then he basically sat for a whole year, for a half a year after Timmons came back and Shazier came back, and then he was the starter by 2017. So, just because he was demoted this year doesn't mean he can't be a starter in the future.
That's very good, and thank you for saying that. Shannon, I want you to take a look at this. 4TL Music Group says, bad. Was Spillane that good, or did we think that he was that good because everyone else coming off the bench was not good? What are your thoughts?
Spillane, when you're surrounded by the amount of talent that the Steelers had on defense last year and again this year, sometimes you just got to be able to fill a role. And that's why I think Spillane, like I said before, he's a tweener. He's not quite strong and big enough to be a buck, and he's not quite fast enough to be a Mac in our defense. So he's excellent depth because he can kind of fill in at 2 positions. But it's like some pitchers in baseball or players, hitters even. If once they get exposed, if they play often and they're going to find your weak spot. They're going to find your cold zone if you're a hitter, so to speak. And I think people figured out Spillane's strengths and his weaknesses, and you have to be able to overcome that once they do. And I think he's more effective, and will be more effective, off the bench, is that first inside linebacker off the bench. So I think that's one of the reasons that this Schobert trade it made so much sense. And not that Spillane can't be a good player, but like you was talking about being a backup quarterback, you want your backup quarterback to be ready at a moment's notice. But he also has to know that his place is his backup quarterback. If he's causing conflict in the locker room because he wants to start, and it can be toxic in the locker room. So you want that guy to also be supportive of your starting quarterback. I think Spillane has that ability to be that kind of backup, inside linebacker at both spots.
Very well said, Shannon. I appreciate that. So who is the odd man out in this situation? Because now there's now with Schobert in there, you're probably going to I think you keep 4 inside linebackers, because I believe they're going to keep 5 outside linebackers. I think Jameer Jones and Quincy Roche are definitely making their case to make this team, along with the 3 names. You've got TJ Watt, you've got Melvin Ingram III, and you also have Alex Highsmith, who I think is going to be a superstar. So I think you're keeping 5 there, and when you keep 5 there, you're only going to keep 4 on the inside. So we already know 3 that are going to probably remain unless something crazy happens and Spillane goes, but I doubt it. So I would think that Buddy Johnson, he stays in there too, and that makes other guys expendable. What are your thoughts on that? First, I'll go back to Shannon real quick, then I'll go to Tony.
I'm a huge Ulysses Gilbert III fan. But since he's come back from this latest injury, he's been very tentative. He's not aggressive. He gets caught up in the wash and just gets he's just not being physical since he's came back this year. I'm hoping it's rust and that he'll be able to overcome that, because he has that speed element that makes him a great backup for Bush. But at this point, I just don't think he has enough time. So I think that Gilbert and I think Marsh, I think those 2 guys are going to be the ones cut at this point, because Marsh, we know what he is, and he's been solid, and you might can put him on the practice squad. But I think that Jameer Jones and Quincy Roche, they just got a ton of potential, and I think they've outplayed him in the preseason, and they've had great training camps as well. So I would think that Marsh and Gilbert is the 2 that will be cut.
Tony, do you see anybody more than 4 being kept as inside linebackers? Because remember, we have the Marcus Allen factor here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Marcus Allen. The only saving Marcus Allen at this point, because I think Buddy Johnson's going to make the team. I think he has a lot of talent as a 4th round pick. I really do like him. And Spillane's going to make the team. So the only thing I can say Marcus Allen at this point is his versatility as far as being able to play inside linebacker and safety. And obviously he's good on special teams. So if they can find a way to keep him, other than that, I think it's going to be those that I'm, obviously Schobert and Bush and Spillane and Johnson. I think UG3, I'm intrigued. I'm like Shannon by his athleticism, because he's a lot like Bush, a poor man's Bush, really. But he really hasn't shown much. If they can maybe sneak him on the practice squad, but I think he's going to make the cut. And the only thing I could say, Alan, at this point is his versatility.
Fantastic. So, gentlemen, there's something that is, the name of the show tonight. We are talking about, hey, the Steelers have been reeling players in. When are they going to start dealing? We've talked about Kevin Colbert, and that's something that I think is going to start happening, because there's a lot more depth on this team than you would think. I'm going to say it right here. I think that they are going to make some moves, not now, but probably very close to the on cut down day. I think there's some moves. I also think that there's some moves after week 1 of the season as well. We've seen it happen before. We are going to talk about that when we get back. Who are the Steelers most likely to trade? That's going to be for part 2. So if you're checking us out on Facebook or YouTube, let us stretch. We'll be right back to you. Any of our podcast platforms that anybody listens to us on, hey, we value you just as well. Just please go ahead and download number 2, and we will be right back with some fantastic Steeler talk right after this on The Hangover from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Welcome back to the Steeler Hangover. My name is Brian Anthony Davis. His name is Tony Defio, and his name is Shannon White. It is so great to have you all here as it's 26 days until the start of the NFL season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are so excited for it. Tony and Shannon, we've been having some great talk here, and it's been fantastic. We're talking about the Joe Schobert deal. We're talking about the inside linebacker situation. And we've been talking about the glory that is Kevin Colbert, one of the best. They're calling him, Steeler fans are calling him the GOAT this week. And that's great. And I know, Shannon and Tony, when we were growing up, you called somebody the GOAT. That was a bad thing. Now, it's greatest of all time, and it's amazing. So it's funny how that has changed. Also, I got to tell you, there's some great chat in the live chat, and I've got to bring this all up. I did not know this, and I've got to get a little background because I've been peeking in. Apparently, Michael O'Malley got a chance to see a live show, and I want to this confirmed, a live show of the Jerry Cherry Band. Jerry Cherry, our house band for our audio shows, the music that you hear, the music introing this show. I know you don't hear music introing this show, but when it's on the podcast platform, you will. And that's all Jerry Cherry. And it's fantastic. So, I mean, that's great. I mean, where was this live show, and when can we see you? When are you coming to Pittsburgh or Maryland? Okay, so Michael O'Malley saw it on YouTube. But that's the thing. We need to get together and see a live Jerry Cherry show. That's the thing. Check out Jerry Cherry's YouTube network. I mean, it's fantastic, really great stuff, especially if you want to fool around and learn the guitar. He's fantastic, so I love it. So, Michael, thanks for bringing that up. Jerry, thanks for all you do for our shows as well. So, let's talk about this. This is something that's really important because we're talking about how the Steelers have some depth pieces now. We've talked about James Washington just a few weeks ago saying, hey, maybe he wants traded. Maybe it was just his agent talking. But with all the depth that's coming up, and the trades are great, and I love them. How many of you are going to be complaining come March and April when all we're doing is talking about draft, and there's no 4th, 5th, and 6th round pick? Are they worried about that? That's a question. Is Kevin Colbert worried about that? Are they looking to replenish? Do they have the means to replenish that? And I kind of think they do. But let's talk about what they're missing at this point right now. You know, they have a 1st and 2nd round pick, and they have a 3rd round pick. They do not have a 4th. The 4th went to the Miami Dolphins on draft day for Isaiah Loudermilk. Shannon talked about that trade. And look, if you're making a trade for a guy, everybody was poo-pooing the trade right away because they'd never heard of Loudermilk. But yeah, and I get it. I mean, and you weren't alone in that. A lot of people were doing it.
And his grades and everything, yeah.
And I was one to say, and like, I said not so fast because he doesn't make a trade like that. Colbert's not going to make a trade like that and just give away a 4th rounder unless he knows something. So that's what I was thinking. So let's give him a shot. People are coming around on Big 92. They're liking it. I hope we can see more of this. And Andrew Wilbar just called him Milk Dud. So so that's the number. That's where your number 4 pick went. Your number 5 pick went in the Avery Williamson deal. I still support the Avery Williamson deal that happened on October 30th of last year. It had to be done. There was no depth. They needed to bring a guy in. They got a 7th back, so they do get a 7th round pick. They do lose a 5th, but that's the nature of the game. They needed the guy. And then the 6th round pick now goes for Joe Schobert, and everybody's talking about that being a steal. Are we going to miss those draft picks next April? Or May, or whenever the draft is. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't care, because I'm thinking of 2021, and it just feels like this team is loading up and doing the best they can to fill holes and give Ben Roethlisberger the best chance to get another Lombardi, get another 2 Lombardis before that window slams shut. So, and Wes brings this up, they're likely getting a 3rd and a 5th. So they're likely getting a 3rd next year because of Bud Dupree. They're likely to get a 5th, I believe, because of Matt Filer. Mm-hmm. And because there's a possibility that they get a 6th. It just depends on Joe Haeg and what they do with Joe Haeg. The 6th would be for Mike Hilton. You cannot rely on that, because Dave Schofield, who is amazing with the formulas, predicted that the Steelers were going to get a whole lot more last year, and it looked like they were, but the formula just did not go the way of the Steelers last year with what was given up. So you can't really rely on all of that. I mean, the third seems like it's there. The 5th does too, but you just don't know. And I'm seeing some people mentioning about Avery Williamson. I will go back in time and make that deal again. You had to do something to bring somebody in, an inside linebacker. But the thing is, Tony, we can get more. When I say we, the Steelers can go ahead and get more draft picks. And there are some candidates right now to be traded. And who would be the first person that you would deal, Tony, if you are Kevin Colbert's buddy and you're helping him out? He's like, hey, I'm not feeling too well, Tony. I had a little too many irons last night. Can you help me out? I've got to make a deal. So what are you doing? What's the first deal that you make, Tony? And then Shannon's going to make a deal too.
Well, I mean, I don't want to trade him. I'm against it. But if I had to trade somebody, the guy that would probably, to me, hold the most value would be Washington, because he's coming. I think he has exceptional abilities, and I think he's just been blocked. And, if a team were able to get their hands on him, and a team that needs a starting wide receiver in 2021, he could be of great value. So I think he could be the guy you would get the most back for. And the team that gets him could probably sign him to a cheaper deal next year, unless he has like a crazy 4th year and just really puts up a lot of stats. But that's the guy I would trade, even though I would be against it personally. But if I had to make a deal and I needed draft picks in return, he's the guy I think you can get the most in return for.
What do you think that they can get out of him? And I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I don't want to lose James Washington, but right. when you're looking at doing some replenishing and of the draft stock, the capital from next year, who do you look at? So I respect your answer. There's no bad answers here. That's like, if you're the GM, that's what you're going to go ahead and do. What do you think that you could legitimately get out of this guy?
Legitimately, probably a 4th, which would replace the 4th. If you're Kevin Colbert though, and you're on the road he's on, maybe you can somehow find a way to get a 3rd. Probably unlikely, but definitely a 4th. I think you could get a 4th for him, because I think he's a talented receiver. He only has 1 year left on his rookie deal, which might scare some teams away, but like I said, he's just being blocked. So if he goes somewhere and has a great year for somebody, I think they would gladly trade the 4th round pick for that possibility.
Shannon White, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that the Steelers could get a 4th or a 5th out of a guy like James Washington? We know how he works.
Oh yeah, great work ethic, and just has some guys that are just a little bit more talented ahead of him. It ain't that he struggles to get the separation that some of the guys in front of him get. But he does everything well. And there was some rumors today that people are looking, talking to the Steelers, considering trading for him. So I wouldn't take less than a fourth. But if I had to pick somebody, because everybody's talking about Mason Rudolph, and but the only problem is a comp for him. Teddy Bridgewater, he got traded for a 6th round pick, and so when Wentz went down for the Colts, people was talking about trading him to the Colts, but now it doesn't look like he's going to be out very long. And Eason, their backup quarterback, I think is more talented than Rudolph. So, probably a 6th round pick would be all you'd get out of him. But I think that Haskins has more potential to be that long-term answer after Ben. And especially the way he's looking and getting in the Steelers culture and their environment. And just being around Ben and being around Tomlin and the Rooney family, how they do things. It seems like he's maturing. And that's all. The talent's never been a question with him. It's been his maturity level and his work ethic. And, some things are contagious. And I think being around a locker room full of them kind of guys that are hard workers, he seems to be taking his career more serious now. And I'm just afraid that Rudolph is going to be gone or is going to actually be a problem. He's going to be in his way. And where I think Haskins is the guy they need to focus on. So if you could get a 6th round for him, you'd have to consider it.
Well, here, let's go back to 2019. And I've brought this up a few times. And this does not mean that the Steelers would make a deal for right away. But you could always see something like, the first week of the season, if we go back to 19 and what happens at the time, you remember it.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Foles goes down. And then all of a sudden you're with an unknown rookie in Gardner Minshew III, and they need some help in Jacksonville, and they gave up a 5th round pick. And that 5th round pick that they gave up was for Joshua Dobbs. Now, the Steelers were smart that year because they did like what they had in Duck Hodges. There was a lot of people disappointed that he was kept over Duck, but I think what they were trying to do was engineer a trade for Dobbs before week 1 and cut down weekend. And I don't think it worked out. But so I could really see right now, Joshua Dobbs being the odd man out right now this year because he is the safest to go ahead and cut and let go, but let him know that, hey, they're not going to keep the caliber of backups. They're not going to keep a guy like Haskins or Rudolph as their number 3. I just don't see them doing it. When you have a guy capable of being a number 3 like Joshua Dobbs, so they could play a little game there. It is a game of chicken, of NFL, trade chicken and waiver wire chicken, but I could see them doing that by trying to deal Mason Rudolph if indeed they end up liking the future that they might have with Dwayne Haskins and keeping him as the number 2 and being fine with having him there as a number 3 and that being Dobbs. But do not be surprised on cutdown day if Mason Rudolph is immediately named the number 2, but they're still trying to deal him. So that's a game you've got to play too, because you don't want to name him as a 3 when you're trying to move him to another franchise.
Right.
Because right now you're not going to hear anything negative about any of these guys because you've got to make it look like you've got gold here. Somebody mentioned, and it's Andrew Wilbar mentioned, I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Peter Schrager said there are NFL teams who see Mason as a future starter and that the Steelers can get something in a trade. He thinks they can get a 4th. if you can get a fifth out of Josh Dobbs, but that was a desperate fifth from Jacksonville at the time, can you get a fourth out of Mason Rudolph? It's really interesting. And somebody mentioned, Jorge mentioned, is like, wow, we're talking about draft season, this draft, and the season haven't started. Actually, we're not. We're just talking about what they're going to do with the players and the depth that they have, because you don't keep all of these guys on the roster. So I can actually see them go ahead and move one of them. I would think that Mason Rudolph would be probably a prime candidate to be moved if they could find a buyer. And we've been talking about how great Kevin Colbert is. To be a great general manager, you've got to be an awesome salesman too. If you can be a great salesman, there's another thing. I mean, you can sell anything if you let people know how much you need them. Hey, you can't live without not having a Mason Rudolph on your roster, because what if something happens to Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, I mean, what if something happens to Dak Prescott? You would need Mason Rudolph there. What, you're going to live life with Garrett Gilbert? I mean, that's the conversations that I envision them having. I'm a sales guy, so that's the kind of things that I think about. But that's really good there. I'm thinking of another guy too, and I gotta think that Presley, and I keep on saying this, I keep calling him Presley the Harvin, and because it just seemed, I keep on messing up but Presley Harvin III, I do not see a scenario where he is let go from this roster. I mean, there's too much hype on him. There's no way you keep him on the practice squad.
No.
But if Jordan Berry keeps kicking the way that he is, that's a 7th round draft pick for a team that would need a punter. Would you agree, Tony?
I don't know. I mean, I think trying to trade a punter in the NFL is like trying to trade a kicker in fantasy football. Like you can always pick up a kicker that's and get comparable numbers. Even if the guy that they want to trade is better, you could probably get close to the numbers you need from somebody you could pick up as a free agent. So I don't know if they do get something for him, probably maybe a 7th round pick, but that's as high as because there's such a supply and demand thing with kickers and punters. There's always somebody out there that, if the Steelers release Barry, the team that wanted him in a trade could probably just hurry up and snatch him up anyway.
Well, not so fast, my friend. And I'm going to ask Shannon White to weigh in on this too. The Steelers have traded Australian punters in the past. If you remember, Brad Wing going for a 7th round pick to the New York Football Giants in favor of Jordan Berry, if I'm not mistaken. So, Brad Wing somebody found that they wanted Brad Wing enough, and the Giants were takers, and they gave a 7th round pick. And here's the other reason for a not so fast, my friend. If the practice squad looks the same that it does last year, they can probably play a little game there with it as well. Because remember, Corliss Waitman was on the practice squad all of last year. And sometimes, I don't know if they did it with Waitman, but the practice squad is going to look the same, and I believe you're going to be able to protect 4 each week. Mm-hmm. So if the first week or two something happens to a punter, and the first week or two you have Barry protected, maybe something like that, then maybe you're making a deal there. So I actually think that they can go ahead and trade him away. Shannon, weigh in, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great battle. I mean, I never pay attention, I'll be honest, to the place kicker battles in camp or the punter battles. I'm so glad we got Boswell, and he's rebounded from that one terrible season, and he's such a reliable kicker. But, Barry, he's got an excellent leg. He kills it in preseason. He kills it in regular season. He does great till you really, really need him. He does great till the weather gets cold. Well, in Pittsburgh, it's always cold in the late season and playoffs, and that's when he shanks it. And right now he's looked great. Even though Harvin's had a great camp, he's hung right with him. It's that close. But I think a team, would probably be willing. They did for Brad Wing, like you said. I think they'd be willing to give a 7th round guy a pick for Barry. And if not, like you said, you can protect, I think it's 4 guys on the practice squad. And, I don't know if you want to protect him each week, or you can only do it so many times, but you don't know what's going to happen as far as injuries or some punters, they get the shanks in the preseason too. And some teams might not be happy with their punter and might be willing to give us a 7th round for Barry, or, we could dream even a 6th. So, but if they get a call like that, they got to do it.
Yeah.
There's 2 other guys that I want to talk about as potential trades, but I need some help out there. We had a super chat, and I think it was Sean who put it in there, but I cannot find the super chat now because I was completely talking. Oh, wait. I found it. Yep. There we go. Sean Manahan gives us $5. Which is more likely based on our current roster? We score 30 points per game or only give up 15 points per game? That is, that's a great question there as well. So I tell you what, I'm going to hold on to that one, and I will get to that. I will get to that soon. I just wanted to make sure that I did not lose that one. So let's go ahead, rapid fire on these next 2. Is there any trade value? And I'm going to start with Shannon on this, with Ray McLeod or Benny Snell Jr. Shannon?
Ray, yes, because he looks like he's going to make the club or still has a good shot. I don't think Snell there is, because he's missed time, and if you could get a late round pick for him, you would take it, because I don't think he's going to make the club. So yeah, Snell I think has value. I mean, Ray has value. Snell I don't think has much, because you can pick him up once we cut him.
Tony.
Ray, yes, because I think he can be an elite punt returner, possibly. Benny Snell, no, because you could pick up guys like that off the scrap heap at any time.
All right, very good. Now, is there anybody that I'm missing that could be a possible trade candidate for the Steelers to send out because of the depth on the roster?
Maybe some like a Wormley or somebody like that, because their defensive line is so good. And if you like a Loudermilk, if you really believe in him, then maybe somebody like Wormley, who's been around the league, could be of some value.
Wow,
I like that. He is a valuable player. Shannon?
Oh, Wormley was a great answer. I agree totally with that. I was thinking more Marcus Allen, just because some teams in the preseason, their special teams have looked pretty suspect, and he's an excellent special teams guy. Tyler, Dirty Red, Tyler McCavage, he's still with the Buffalo Bills, and he's basically a special teams, demon. And so I think Marcus Allen, Killebrew is going to be the backup strong safety, and he can also play sub-package linebacker. So he could make Marcus Allen expendable, and they might be willing to trade him to get something out of him instead of just cutting him.
Very good. So that is that's great. Let's wrap that up with Kevin Colbert's not done, and I think you guys would both agree with that. And it's going to continue to get interesting. Man, it has been an amazing summer. One crazy summer. That was a movie from 1986 with John Cusack, I believe, and Bobcat Goldthwait, one of Tony's all-time favorites, was in that as well. Comic genius to Tony. Tony loves him some Bobcat, but so it is going to continue to be nuts here. Nothing surprises me in 2021 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this has been fun, and it's been great being the podcast producer, because we're getting stuff to talk about. I want to bring up Felicia before I get to the super chat. Okay, I'm back. So with the Steelers not practicing today, does that mean that this evening 5 players get the call that they didn't want to get? Apparently, and by the way, Felicia is the queen of emojis. She's no one does emojis better. And so speaking of emojis, somebody put emojis out, a player with the thankful hands, and it was Isaiah Buggs. So apparently Isaiah Buggs, if we're, I believe those calls went out today. We're not going to know. They don't have to do it until 4:00 p.m. tomorrow with the 5 cuts. But if we're reading into it and trying to figure out why Isaiah Buggs, why Big Pooh is thankful, that could be why. So emojis abound. There's going to be more emojis, I guess. So yeah, I would think that the players got some news today, and they got that call. And I, as a big Major League fan, and I know Tony is. Because Tony's a big Major League fan, and Shannon White's a baseball guy. So I saw that movie at the theater. I remember when it came out at the theater, and that was, I think I have watched that movie over and over and over. And one of Johnstown's own, Pete Vukovich, was Clue Haywood,
right?
And so that was really awesome. And he was a pitcher, he's a Cy Young pitcher, for many a team. But not Cy Young pitcher for many a team, but in 1982 for Milwaukee, he won the Cy Young. So, but I digress. But if you go back to Major League, seeing that red tag is the thing that all players fear. So it is
Roger Dorn.
Roger Dorn
with that practical joke.
None of that old lay stuff.
No, I mean, like, he played that practical joke on, which is the meanest practical joke you could possibly play on somebody.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder that Charlie Sheen tried to destroy him, and then next
the wild thing slept with his wife.
Yeah, I was just
not on purpose. It was an accident.
That's ultimate revenge there. Yeah. Let's do another live chat real quick. Super chat real quick. Connor Eddy gives us $1.99. Do you think the Steelers wait and draft Rattler? Gosh, that's thanks for the $1.99. That's a tough one because we have hopefully that they are in no shape to draft Rattler next year. That's the best answer I can give you now because there is a regular season to look at. Go ahead.
Is he is he supposed to be a top 5 pick, or is he like one of the prospects? If he's like just one of the prospects right now, chances are he'll probably get hyped up so much that he'll be a top 5 pick anyway next year.
Yeah,
he's not that right now.
He's in Trey Lance territory right now, where Trey Lance was a 25. In October he was around a 25, and the next thing you know, he's top 5, and
we see it all the time.
So let's answer that question that we had from Sean Manahan, and the question was, "Hey, are the Steelers more set up to score 30 points a game, fellas, on offense, or hold offenses to under 15 on defense?" So we'll start with you, Shannon White.
I want it to be both.
Yeah.
That way we win each week comfortably, and it'll be much better on my health and all the health of Stone Nation.
Shannon, eat your cake.
But yeah, I want to eat cake, but I think that they're set up better right now. You'd have to say to, hold the defense, only give up 15. The offense, I think, could start slow with the new schemes, the new offensive line, Harris, getting him up to speed, where the defense should be a smoother transition. So even though I'd like to see them do both, I think it's more likely the 15 points a game.
Very good. Tony Defeo, your thoughts?
Oh, it's absolutely the defense. I think there's some concerns with in the secondary. I think still you still have to figure out who's going to be the number 2 corner. Although they're still talking about James Pierre like he's having the best camp, so I'm excited about that. Sutton struggled a bit the other night, but it was his first game. So aside from that, this is an elite defense. I think, as you said, what you said earlier, Alex Highsmith is probably going to be a superstar. So I'm not worried about the Bud Dupree thing as much as I was heading into camp. So I think it's definitely the defense, the offensive line. If they can get that shored up, maybe they could be doing that by the end of the year. But I think they're more equipped to hold teams down than they are to score on teams in 2021.
You know what? I see the Steelers as a 27 point a game. That 30
I'd take that.
That 30 threshold's really hard, but if you're around 27, that's pretty good. So I would gladly take the let's have the defense keeping them under 15 when you have an offense that can score 27, and if it's a rough week and they're scoring 23, you're still winning. So that's the bottom line of the whole thing. Lifelong Fan 07 gives us $4.99. Thank you, Lifelong Fan. LLF 07. Let's make it short. Hopefully the Steelers get the deal done with TJW. Guys, is this going to get done before September 12th? Or are you starting to get cold feet here? Are you starting to get worried?
If you would have asked me that 2 weeks ago, I would say no problem. Now I'm starting to wonder. When you start hearing numbers like $100 million guaranteed floating around, and you hear these reports, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of guaranteed money. So I'm more inclined to think at this right now that they might not get it done before the end of the training camp season, which is the end of their negotiating season.
Shannon,
if it really is $100 million contract that he's wanting, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
The Steelers don't do that. They're not going to do it. And here's the thing. We got to keep in mind. The last two defensive players of the year for Pittsburgh was Troy Polamalu and James Harrison. How many big plays did they make to win ball games? At the end of games, in the playoffs?
Countless.
How many has TJ made? Now, TJ is a great player. But in these huge games, how many big plays has he made to win them, especially late in games? Harrison always, he destroyed Kansas City multiple times. And how many? Then 2 playoff games he's been in, the offense hasn't done good, but that don't mean the defense can't. And he's disappeared in both playoff games.
Right.
If you are the best player, $100 million player, you have your big games in the biggest moments in the spotlight.
Right.
Harrison did, Polamalu did, TJ hasn't. I think Alex Highsmith's going to be a superstar, and he isn't $100 million. You're going to have to pay him $100 million. And the Steelers are good at finding edge talent. I hope he comes to his senses and they can work something out. But $100 million guaranteed, it ain't happening.
Well, here's the thing, and Wes mentions they just restructured Tuitt's contract. I think it's close. So, I mean, that could be a possibility too, or is that Tuitt contract going other places? We don't know that either. But here's the thing. This is the problem we have with Pittsburgh media. There's so much speculation. Has TJ Watt said that he wants $100 million? I mean, just like does James Washington want traded? I mean, there's always that unnamed source. The unnamed source that thinks that TJ Watt left town without and blew off his exit interview. The unnamed source that says that Kevin Dotson is out of shape. So that unnamed source causes a lot of chaos. And so you just never know. But with that being said, gentlemen, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. It was a fun show. We are getting closer and closer. We're going to have some fun next week as well. So please, everybody, join us and check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com for all of your editorial Pittsburgh Steelers needs. It's just not a nonstop shop. It's a one-stop shop and back to a nonstop shop. So it is there is so much that you're going to get here from SB Nation and BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. The second episode of the Jeffrey Benedict vehicle that is called On the Steelers Cutting Room Floor comes out tomorrow. He's going to be talking about inside linebackers, but with a much different spin because he's a film room guy and he gives you a lot of X's and O's in audio form, and it's really good. So check that out. Live Mike with Michael Beck talking about, hey, what are they going to do with that money? There's plenty of money now because of the restructure. what's going to happen? He's going to say, this is what they should do. So check that out as well. The Scobro Show on tomorrow night goes on and on and on. And remember, Friday, the debut of What Yin's Talking About, a social media Steeler show as well. That's going to come up Friday. There's so many great shows in between. So check it all out here on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Live chat and men and women in your car checking this out on Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. We appreciate you. We love you. We cannot do these shows without you. We are blessed to have some of the best fans with some of the best questions and the best takes in our live chat. So thank you for all that you do and supporting us and allowing us to keep doing what we do. So we've got 3 things we need you to do. 1, go ahead, put it up, Tony. 1, be safe. 2, be true to yourself. That's the biggie. And 3, always be behind the steel curtain. So for Shannon White and Tony Defio, my name is Brian Anthony Davis. And to quote the late, great Rowdy Roddy Piper, just when you think you know all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Shannon, is he right?
Yes.
All right. Shannon, wait. I didn't hear Tony. What did he say?
We keep changing the question.
I love it. All right. We will see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye now.